These masters that I would speak to you of are called the Lords of the Seven Rays. And I have told their story in a pocketbook, which is by that very name, Lords of the Seven Rays. It's 2 books in one. The first half gives biographical background. Who were they? When did they live? What did they learn? What did they bring forth? The second half is their teaching. This book emphasizes the fact that there are retreats of these Lords of the Seven Rays, whom we call Ascended Masters, and that these Ascended Masters have opened their retreats as universities of the Spirit. The Ascended Masters teach us, through the Keepers of the Flame lessons, sponsored by Saint Germain, how we can, as we go to sleep at night, pursue meditation, visualization, prayers, and decrees, that we might enter the etheric body, our souls journeying in the etheric body to the etheric plane where these retreats are. Now, the universities of the Spirit of these 7 Lords officially opened to vast numbers of people, in fact, tens of thousands of people, that would journey there at night on January 1, 1986. There is no question in my mind that all seekers in the New Age, or a vast percentage of them, have at one time or another been taken by angels of light to these inner retreats, and that because of an inner learning process that has begun to percolate into the outer mind, whether through questioning or through seeking or dissatisfaction with one's current state of awareness, there has come about a sense of pursuing a path and arriving at the place when the full awareness should come to you of what you have been learning on these inner planes of being, even while you're functioning on this plane. So the basis of that teaching that you learn at inner levels is the basis that I've given you this evening. That is the cornerstone of your life, your purpose, your goal, and your destiny in this life. This book then is exciting, easy reading, and it's very heavily illustrated. When I tell you about the Lords of the Seven Rays now, and I talk to you about their embodiments, the slides you see are just a few of the hundreds of illustrations that there are in this book. So we begin with beloved El Morya, known as the Lord of the First Ray. He may look fierce, but he's fiercely devoted to the will of God, because the first ray is the ray of God's will. That devotion to the will of God shines in him in these following embodiments when any one of you may have known him and walked with him. The first we record is Abraham, 2100 BC. Scholars assume that Abraham was either a humble nomad or a mythical figure, but archaeological evidence now confirms the biblical portrait of a wealthy military chieftain. He lived in Sumer, came out of Ur of the Chaldees in obedience to the call of the Lord. El Morya was embodied as Melchior, one of the 3 wise men. They used a science of the stars, of astrology, to follow not only the place where Jesus was born, but the year and the hour of his birth. He was Arthur, king of the Britons, in the 4th or 5th century. Until recently, Arthur has been assumed to be legendary, but today both archaeological and literary investigations reveal a 4th or 5th century leader who conforms to the profile of King Arthur. He used Roman military tactics and lived in Scotland. There are also locations that say that Camelot was in England, not too far from Glastonbury. El Morya was embodied as St. Thomas Becket. 1118 to 1170, he was Lord Chancellor of England, friend and advisor to King Henry II. He became Archbishop of Canterbury. He came into conflict with the king over the rights of the church. And shortly following Christmas, on December 29th, 1170, he was murdered in Canterbury Cathedral by 4 knights who took literally Henry's remark that he wished to be rid of this turbulent priest. The tremendous bravery and courage with which he went to that altar knowing that these men were pursuing him, is just one more life's example of the dedication of his soul to be the embodiment of the will of God. The strength and the courage of beloved El Morya, even in the embodiments I have thus far named, is a guiding light to all who know him and feel the presence of his love. El Morya is the master who called me when I was a student at Boston University. He appeared to me. He was the first master I had ever seen with my own inner eye, with the exception of Saint Germain, who had come to me when I was 18. He was there in full presence, powerfully radiating his aura, and said, "I have need of a feminine messenger. Go to Washington to be trained under Mark Prophet." That was his message. Having so delivered it, he moved on. Morya is very straightforward, very direct, and very much active in the affairs of state in the world today, as he was in his embodiment as St. Thomas More, 1478 to 1535, Lord Chancellor of England. He was lawyer, judge, statesman, author, poet, and humanist. All of those callings reflect the first ray. Now, these rays of God are 7 ways that you can attain personal Christhood, putting on the light of God through the works of one of these 7 rays or 7 planes of being. Again, he comes in conflict with Henry, this time Henry VIII, for refusing to take the oath of supremacy, which implied the rejection of papal authority and made Henry the head of the English Church. He was convicted of treason on perjured evidence and beheaded. Good-naturedly, he actually gave a gold coin to the one who held the axe, and he said that he died the king's good servant, but God's first. At any time, he could have complied with the king's request and compromised his soul. The interesting thing about these 2 incarnations of El Morya is that Henry II and Henry VIII were also the same individual and the same one who had him put to death. So we discover as we read the Lords of the 7 Rays the ties lifetime to lifetime in these 7 masters, and we realize that we also have many ties, many interesting relationships that are carryovers from previous lifetimes. And as I said before, in this age of reckoning, we go through many situations and relationships, but always the purpose being to release the light of God, the Holy Spirit, for balance, for blessing, for resolution, for love, whereby we can go in peace and not be bound by age-old wounds, hurts, angers, sorrows, prejudices, fears, and envies. We find Morya as Akbar, 1542 to 1605, the greatest of the Mughal emperors of India. He has been described as one of the few successful examples of Plato's philosopher king. He actually founded his own faith, a divine monotheism that united the basic truths of all religions. He had representatives of all the world's major religions coming to him. He was supremely tolerant. He allowed all to practice their religion in his realm. He put the best of them all together, hoping that people would broaden their horizons. But in the end, only his closest servants and friends adopted it. But his legacy of universality, religious tolerance, and a well-organized government blessed India for centuries. El Morya concluded his incarnations in the West as the famous Irish poet Thomas More, composer, musician, prolific writer of prose and poetry. Following that life, he went to India, became the Rajput prince El Morya Khan, and took his ascension in 1898. Do you realize that before a century passes, you could also attain to reunion with God through the ascension in the light? And that in fact, that may very well be your destiny in this life, the one to which you are called, to balance your karma, serve the will of God, love all life free, and return to his heart, never more to go out in the round and wheel of rebirth. The conclusion of the Piscean age is a great harvest. Jesus talks about that. There's a great harvest of the seed of Christ who are intended to come home. And there is also a harvest of the tares, the seed of the evil one sown among the seed, the good seed. El Morya then teaches us the mastery of the throat chakra. It is the blue chakra that you see at the throat. It has 16 petals. The chakras start out with a few petals, 4 at the base of the spine, the 1,000-petal lotus at the crown. This means that each chakra has a different vibration or frequency. You have 7 chakras to experience God in 7 different ways. I'd like to show you the chakra man in the violet flame again, so that I can talk to you about how you are already experiencing God, but you've just not thought about your daily life in that sense of the word. First of all, you can see the crown chakra. It's a golden yellow. And that is where the mind of God that was in Christ Jesus is anchored in you through the physical brain and nervous system. When you are thinking, you are sensing yourself centered somewhere at the top of your head. Most of us feel that when we are studying, that's where we're centered. Then you come to the third eye chakra, right at the brow. This is the point of concentration. And so when you concentrate, you usually wrinkle up your brow, and you're kind of looking like this, very intent on what you are seeing or watching. Through that third eye, you see good and evil, and you embody your choice. So that is the third eye chakra, and that is where you experience God as concentration. Then you come to the throat chakra, which is the power center, and here you experience God as the power of the spoken word, and you observe every day how your words may comfort people, curse people, lift them up, put them down. People use power in good ways and bad ways, but usually their conversation is involved. Politicians make speeches, etc., etc. Then you go to the heart. It's the pink chakra, 12 petals, and here you experience God as love. When you love someone or love God or love an animal or nature, you feel the love of your heart expand. You really feel a love going forth from you, and it does feel pink. Then when you go to the solar plexus chakra below the heart, which has 10 petals, you are involved in the focus of the desire body. So our desirings, ordinate and inordinate, we experience. The desire for food is experienced in this chakra, the desire for money, the desire for conquest, all kinds of things. But the solar plexus is the place of peace. And that solar plexus, the place of the sun, is where we establish peace in meditation and in prayer. The antithesis of peace is turbulence, anger, violence, butterflies in the belly. So there's an extreme of emotions that we feel in that particular center. Again, we choose the part of God we want to experience, hopefully the highest. The next chakra going down is the seat of the soul. It's the violet chakra. The previous one was the purple and gold. The violet chakra is the point where your soul is anchored. When you feel yourself below the heart, it feels like your subconscious. When you talk about your subconscious, it's the place that is below your awareness. The soul then knows, but it knows at another level of consciousness. The soul warns you, it gets a gut feeling. You have a sense of danger, it comes from that chakra. You have a sense of danger communicated by angels. It's communicated through the soul. So this chakra can be activated as you develop the senses of the soul, or the psyche, which are called psychic senses because they relate to the soul's awareness. Finally, the base chakra, which is the white chakra, the farthest descent of light in our temples, the seat of the Divine Mother, the place of purity, is the seat of the life force. That life force is intended to be raised up through the chakras at all levels for our daily creativity in our professions and in our lives. It is also the power by which we procreate. So now you can see that all of your life you actually have been experiencing God in 7 planes of being. And you have actually been qualifying the light of God in those planes. Because the light comes down to you over that crystal cord, and that comes from your I Am Presence. The light enters that soft spot in the top of the head you can see at the birth of a child, and it goes to your central sun of being, the distributing center, which is your heart chakra. So I will explain them to you now, beginning with the diamond. The diamond is the first stone that is used by the Lord of the first ray, but it is also used by the lords of all of the rays. It comes down to us with a tradition of embodying the power of God. It is actually the highest vibrating crystal. All gems are crystal. In fact, all matter is crystal. The diamond is associated with kingship, priesthood, and power. In Sanskrit, it is called Vajra, which means thunderbolt. It has been called adamant, which stems from the Greek word adamus, signifying the unconquerable. In ancient times, the diamond was said to endow the wearer with superior strength, fortitude, and courage, to strengthen body and mind, induce purity and fearlessness, and defend against enemies. Edgar Cayce, in his readings, talked much about gems, and he said the diamond was good for attunement with infinity. It is definitely the focus of God's will and assists us in carrying the power and the alignment and balance of the Alpha Omega, Father, Mother, God, centered in this throat chakra. We speak of the diamond heart of Mary as the diamond heart of her devotion to the will of God. The Lapis Lazuli was believed to protect, strengthen, and counteract dark spirits. I have experimented with both the diamond and the lapis, and I find the diamond to be exactly what it says it is. It does help you focus the power of God and strength to fulfill your mission. It is a great protection also. With the lapis, you find it at a different level of vibration. It is a lower level of vibration, but it gives that strengthening and healing presence. When you wear a chain of lapis on your body, directly on your skin, and you can wear these things at night as well as in the daytime, you will notice that there is a bringing together and an aligning of your inner forces in balance. Lapis has been seen as the emblem of chastity. Edgar Cayce recommended it for general health, strengthening self-assurance, again, attunement to infinity. There was a Sumerian belief that the wearer of a lapis amulet carries with him the presence of a god, we would say, of an ascended master or a saint. The lapis helps to align the soul with its original blueprint that we went forth with from the central sun. Then there is the sapphire that is also used on the first ray. The Buddhists say it produces a desire for prayer, gives spiritual light, brings peace and happiness, as long as its wearer leads a moral life. That is because it embodies the law of God, which is the first ray, and that law demands of us that we serve it, and then it will turn and serve us. It calms the mind, gives awareness of cosmic realms, strengthens the will. The star sapphire is a focus of one's causal body. It is believed that star sapphires defend against evil eye and witchcraft. The focus of the sapphire itself as a protection throughout trials and temptations of life, I believe to be indispensable to those who serve with Archangel Michael. And I have seen that the sapphire attracts the rays of Sirius. Now you have noticed that I am wearing rings on each of my fingers, and I will explain this to you because it is an assignment from Saint Germain. These are not adornments, but they are tools or focuses of light. As we have shown you the 7 chakras and the 7 rays, so I would explain to you that your hands have chakras, and they are in the very center of the palm. These are 5 secret rays, and in these 5 points of his body, Jesus was also marked in the crucifixion. The feet, the hands, and the side which signifies the spleen. So the 5 secret rays then are actually individually released through the hands, through the fingers. Now when you extend your hands in this way, you are cupping them to receive the light of God. When you put them this way, you are sending out light. But that light is Alpha, giving the light of your I Am Presence, and Omega, plus, minus, Father and Mother. It is with this hand that you receive and this hand that you give, but you can bless with both hands. So some of you engaged in the healing arts, when you may work on patients, know then that you can receive directly through your I Am Presence light to pass into the body of those who need realignment in whatever way or whatever branch of healing you may be involved in. So these particular focuses that I have were directed to me by Saint Germain. I, of course, have had no desire to own them. They are the property of the Church, Church Universal and Triumphant, and they are definitely, as I see them, the instruments whereby I do my work. And one of the things that I do is to hold healing services with the laying on of hands on individuals. And again, I am not a healer, but God is, and the Masters will use these focuses to transmit a very special light. El Morya's message then, if I could take a single paragraph from the Book of Lords for you, is that he says, "Beloved hearts of light, you see that the return to discipleship is necessary, for a people have forgotten their God. They have not understood the true coming of Jesus, and therefore they do not understand why the saints have lived, why they have sacrificed, why they have left a record. Because the emphasis is not on you, but upon Christ nailed to a cross. This will afford you nothing unless you yourself realize that all that was in this Son of God can be yours."
The preceding lecture was given by Elizabeth Clare Prophet, world-renowned author and spiritual teacher. The Summit Lighthouse is an international spiritual organization dedicated to universal enlightenment. Founded in 1958, the Summit Lighthouse has been a beacon of truth to thousands worldwide and a leader in New Thought spirituality. The preceding program has been brought to you by the Summit Lighthouse. For more information, call 1-800-245-5445 or visit our website at www.tsl.org. Outside the USA, call 406-848-9500 or write to the Summit Lighthouse, 63 Summit Way, Gardner, Montana, 59030, USA.